Today we're going to be working on this, a 1992 500 SL. This is an early year square body pre-facelift car. And what we're going to be focusing on is this, the mono wiper. This is the U gear that usually fails. It's the same for 124, 129, and 201. First things first, let's see what's going wrong. That's not nice. So how it's supposed to work is it's supposed to retract in at this point, elongate here, retract, elongate, retract, and do that all in a specific synchronization. So what usually happens is that this gear will strip right here in the middle, and we're going to verify that. What we're going to verify this is to turn the key on, turn the wiper on, and then when it gets to the center, we're going to turn the key off. That way it will stop. Just like so. How we verify this is to see if it will go in and out at the stripped spot. You may have to go back and forth a few times to find it. This project should only be done inside or outside on a beautiful day. We'll get to why later. With the hood in the service position, let's get started. The gear that we want to replace is right about here. What we need to do is to remove this entire assembly. In order to get to that, we need to take off this, and maybe some of these. The first thing to remove is this weather stripping. The two airbox screws. There are 3 clips at the bottom. With a flathead screwdriver, you can gently pop them out over the hump. Now's a good time to find a place to start laying parts. Remove the 5 screws for this cover. Here's why you want to do this project indoors or on a day that you're sure it's not going to rain. If it rains, all the water is going to come off the windshield and go right down in here to all this. And that looks expensive. Next, you're going to want to remove these. There are 3 screws here and 3 screws over there. As with most Mercedes-Benz plastic that's 30 years old, you will be forgiven if they break. Next, remove this center cover. Next, we're going to remove this by removing these 2 plastic screws. If they spin all the way through, you can put a finger on it as you use your screwdriver. This part's a little fiddly, so just take your time and work it out gently. Now we have access to the wiper motor assembly. At this point you may be saying, mine looks different. Yes, these do have some slight variations. Some of them have the motor here, some of them have the motor there. However, the basics for it is basically the same. What we're going to do is we're going to unhook the electrical connector, pull it through. There are 3 nuts. 1, 2. Is there? Yes, there is, right down here. 3. And we're also going to disconnect both of these, and this will slide out with the unit. Now these don't have to be taken all the way out, it just has to be loosened enough that the whole thing can move. Like that. Now we're going to disconnect the motor. There is a little thing that slides sideways, and there are 2 wires, 1, 2, and this is something else that commonly breaks. If yours is working properly, you should slide this sideways and it'll automatically unplug them. You're probably not going to have that happen. Next, we're going to pull this wire out of that, and then we're going to pull the wire out of here. If you reach underneath it, you can kind of squish it and get it through the groove. Well, you can. I can't, obviously, but I mean, there we go. Okay, now our wiper assembly is ready to be removed. Here's what we removed so far. Next, grab a random white sheet and lay it out so that it looks like you're working in a clean environment. Take some greasy car parts and lay it right in the middle of it. Ruin it immediately and then realize that that was the $1,000 Egyptian silk Manito. Well, no turning back now. Lift up on the back side and pull out. With a 5mm, you can remove the wiper. With a 17mm, remove the shaft nut. Mark the position so that you know how to put it back together. With 2 screwdrivers, remove the circlip. And then immediately lose it. Now we're about ready to take it apart. We're going to align this with this straight across. In this position, it will come apart. Where did that come from? I don't know. Okay, so this is going to be thin washer, then gasket on here, which goes in here. And then the first thing that goes in here is the next little gasket. Okay, so now we can inspect it. This gear looks good. It's filthy, but it looks okay. This one usually doesn't fail, but just in case it does, you can get a replacement. The one that usually fails is this one. Oh boy, this thing is terrible. Let me see if I can get it in such a way that you can see it. You can see it's failed all through there and over here. It's got 2 dead spots in it. We'll have to clean all this up. Okay, so I'm removing this piece of rubber. This gear is just shattering. There are 6 screws going around the edge. With the screws removed, the gear will come out. And there are 2 metal pieces that have to come out of it to be reused. Clean this. Next, we're going to remove these 3 screws. I'm not even allowed to wash these sheets. With a small flat screwdriver, you can get inside this crack and get it started to come off. Clean everything inside here. And now that everything is meticulously cleaned, we can add new grease to it. So the lubricant that I'm going to be using says brake lubricant on it, but that's actually not important. What you're looking for is Seal Glide. Seal Glide is safe for plastic, and you want to use any sort of lubricant that is safe for plastic, because if you use regular grease, it will eat the gear. Just go ahead and feel free to use lots of it. The tube of this is only about $10. Make sure that you got plenty. This is never coming out. Now when we reinstall this gear, we're going to use some blue thread locker on it. Okay, so now we've got all of these in. Looks nice. Now get a little bit of grease in here, spread it around. Put the clamshell cover back on. Put the 3 screws back in. Add grease. Now I'll add the flat washer, the gasket. Reinstall this. With your arm retracted, line it up completely the opposite with that. There we go. And with the arm pointed away from the pin, this will be the shortest place. This is the middle of the windshield, the top of the middle of the windshield, and it'll be the shortest. So we'll verify that that's working correctly. Goes long in the corner, short for the side, long for the corner, short for the middle, long for the corner, short for the side. This is working correctly. Now we're going to spin it this direction, because that's how we took it off. And we're going to go gasket, thin washer, thin washer, thick washer, circlip. Needed 2 hands for that, but it's on there. Okay. Now we're ready to put this back on. And our line lines right back up. We're good. Now, crooked washer and nut. Okay, we'll reinstall the wiper arm and bolt. Keep things clean. Okay, and this just kind of slides in here, just like so. Alright, now it's ready to go back in the car. And back at the car, first thing to do is put this thingamabob on. And turn these to the go back on position. Now I know that you'll never see it, but since it's apart, now's a really good time to go along that bottom edge and get that clean. Go ahead and clean inside these ducts, inside this box. There, that looks better. There's a little metal piece on the back of it, and it kind of goes under the windshield like that. And before we go too much further, I've got these on just finger tight. Got this kind of slid into place, and I'm going to test it. If anything's wrong with it, I'll take it back apart right now. Alright, let's give it a try and see how it works. Looks like it's going down just a little too far on this side. I'll pull it back off and check it. Well, I thought I had it, but I am just slightly off. Okay, so I was here. Going to there. You know, this is actually the part that I was the most concerned about. How do you get this thing to line up? I couldn't find any good information on it. think that's right. Well, the good thing is that if you screw it up like I just did, it's actually pretty easy to fix. I mean, you just wiggle it a little bit and put it back together. Try again. Alright, that's looking a lot better already. It's not coming down past the windshield. Oh, and something else. There's a flat side and an angle side to this. The flat side goes down. Okay, now that looks like where it's supposed to be. That is how it's supposed to work. Cool. Alright, so now I've gone to the trouble of actually getting this thing in there the way that it should be, and it's ready to be installed correctly. Now, I've got all three of my nuts tightened down, I've got my wire in place, I've got these two tightened down. I'm going to check it one more time before I put everything back together. That's perfect. Right, so I wiped this off. So this part can be a little bit fiddly to get in. What you want to do is get this bottom edge down here and get it under these first and then work it in. This little thing that hangs down here. There we go. Not bad. And then replace the plastic screws. Now this piece, you just want to slide it up and under this little rubber gasket. Run your finger along it and keep it all on the top of this piece but underneath this piece. And that's impossible if you're holding a cell phone. You've got to have two hands. Reinstall these 5 screws. So to install these, you want to have the piece kind of angled towards the center of the car, slide it sideways, and then the other two, it'll go down. And then you can tighten all of them. And reinstall your air box, just slide it in there, and then kind of tilt it forward. And they'll snap. And if that doesn't work, you can also do it with a screwdriver. Then just reinstall the 2 screws. Then just reinstall the weather stripping. I don't think that needs an explanation. That's how it should look. Thanks for watching.